Alright, so dealing with a messed up USB stick right now. You lost your files, you can't access them when you plug it into your PC, it's not even recognized, all that sort of stuff, right? It's a pretty gnarly situation. Well, today I'm going to be giving you the best methods that I know of that will allow you to gain access to your drive as well as, hopefully in the end, get your files back. And we're going to be covering it all on a Windows 10 PC. So let's get started. But when it comes to a corrupted flash drive, what does that even look like typically? Like, what are the telltale signs that you've got some data or software corruption going on your USB flash drive? Well, there's a few. So first of all, the main one would be if you attempt to plug in your flash drive and you can't even pull up any of the files, you can't even open any of them, right? Or there's even some missing and you know that you didn't delete them, then that's a pretty surefire sign that something fishy is going on the software end. If you can't even access the drive at all, like you plug it in and it's just dead, there's no response from your computer, then that's a decent sign. Or if you try to copy or paste something to and from the drive and it's not working at all, or it says you need to format the drive in order for it to be usable again, then those are all signs that there's something going on here that needs fixing, and it's most likely software related. So yes, those are all the signs that something is going on with the drive, but what's the next step? Like, what do you do next? Well, I'm going to go over two sort of classes of methods that are both really comprehensive and will cover most of your bases in terms of getting all of your files off the drive, or at least gaining access to the drive so that it's usable again without losing all your stuff. And we're going to start by using data recovery software to pull files off the drive even if the drive isn't recognized by the PC. So for situations like this, data recovery software is absolutely amazing. I use it all the time, and the really cool thing is that it's able to read a drive even without any help from Windows Explorer or a disk manager, meaning that it's almost like a separate entity in that it can gain access to your drive when it appears it doesn't even work. So that's a huge plus. And the cool thing is that the software that we're using today is called Disk Drill, and the amazing thing about it is that it has some of the most advanced recovery algorithms in the space, especially when it comes to recovering files from a corrupted USB drive. And when you download it for Windows, you can recover up to 500 megabytes of files for free. So I'm going to leave a link down below in the description to where you can download and install Disk Drill. But once you download and install it, then go ahead and open it up. And at this point, it would be a good idea to make sure that your USB drive is plugged into your PC. And then once it is plugged in, it will be recognized inside of Disk Drill, right inside the disk list, which is in the center. Now, one thing that we really should do before we actually begin to scan the drive for files is to perform a byte-to-byte backup of the drive. And what this means is that it's going to create an exact mirror image of whatever is on that drive onto a separate location, which we could pull from later if something happens to go awry on the drive, or we overwrite something, or just something in the process goes wrong and we need to actually pull a fresh version of that drive from the time before we started actually running the scan and attempting to recover the files. The cool thing about Disk Drill is that it's got an amazing byte-to-byte backup feature built right into it, and all we need to do is go to Backup, then select your corrupted USB drive, then hit byte-to-byte backup, choose your save location, and give it a name if you want, and hit OK. Now, once this process is finished, make sure that you store this file in a safe and secure location, and then head back to Disk Drill, and then open up the data recovery panel and head back to the disk list. Okay, so now we are actually ready to go ahead and scan the drive for files. And now the cool thing about the backup that we just made is that it actually doubles as a disk image that we can scan right inside of Disk Drill. And this will help us to avoid any potential errors or things going awry during the recovery process. So all we need to do is click Attach Disk Image, and then select the backup file that you just created. And this will add it to the list, where we can select it, choose our recovery method, and then hit Search for Lost Data. So now, of course, depending on the size of your drive and how much data you actually lost, this may take a few minutes, so I'm going to speed this process up, and I will come back once it's done. Alright, so the process is finished, and now what we can do is just click this little blue button up here, which will take us to all of the files that were found during the scan. So now you can browse around through the files in the middle here, also in the left-hand side via the categories for photos, videos, documents, whatever it may be. There's also a search bar up in the top right if you know the file by name or you knew its file extension at the time that it was deleted. But once you find the files that you're looking for, go ahead and put a check mark next to them. Then go down and hit Recover, and choose your save location. Now, one thing that is very important, do not export the files that you are trying to recover to that USB drive from which you are trying to recover. That's very important because then you actually risk overwriting them. So I'm actually just going to export them to my desktop here. That's what I normally do, and click OK. Now, as you can see, the files have returned to the desktop. They're in great shape, just like they never left. Okay, so that is the first method, and that's honestly the one that I prefer to use the most because it's the one that's the most robust and that gives me the files in the least amount of time. But there are some others that you can try just in case you have a different scenario going on, like, for instance, if you plug the drive in and it is recognized but not inside of Windows Explorer. So it's essentially mountable, but you can't pull the files off, you can't read them inside of Windows Explorer. And if that's the case, then the simple solution might be to just reset some of the metadata inside the drive, which can allow it to be essentially reinstalled or re-recognized inside the PC that will allow you to get the files. So it's really simple, and there's a few methods that you can try. So here you go. The first thing that you can do is to assign a different drive letter to the drive. So you can do this by right-clicking the start icon, then hitting disk management, and then right-click on the disk number for your USB drive, and then click change drive letter and paths. Then just click on the drive letter that's already assigned and hit change. Choose a new drive letter that is not being used by any other drive on your computer, and hit OK. Now, the second thing that you could try is to update and reinstall the drivers. So you can think of drivers as a sort of communication pathway between an operating system and a device. It's like an extension of the software that if it gets interrupted, then it won't be readable. And it's a pretty simple fix actually, so here's how you can do it. Make sure your drive is plugged in, of course, and then right-click the start icon again, and then hit Device Manager. Then expand the drop-down list for your disk drives, then right-click on your USB drive and hit Uninstall Device. Then just go ahead and unplug your USB and then plug it back in again, and this will trigger the latest drivers to be downloaded and installed automatically. Now, the last way that you can troubleshoot this thing is by actually using a few commands inside CMD, like a trib and the check disk command. I've actually used this before to get rid of a broken file system on a drive that I shot a wedding with a while back, but the cool thing about this is that it helps to just relieve some of that pressure that comes from a broken file system. So it is a little bit technical, I will warn you, but I'm going to run through all the steps here, so just follow them all the way through and you shouldn't have any problems. So go ahead and click on the start menu and then search for CMD. Then go ahead and enter this command into the command line and replace D with the drive letter of your USB and press enter. And then this will cause Windows to verify all of the files and folders on that USB stick. And then last but not least, to unhide those files, enter this command, again replacing D with the drive letter of your USB stick, and then hit enter once more. So again, this last method is pretty niche and usually only works for a bad file system, but if it did work and it allowed your drive to be recognized by the computer again, then that's awesome, and that's about all I got. So that's it. Those are the best methods that I know of to actually recover files from a corrupted USB flash drive and to get them off safely. I hope that this worked for you, and if it did, always be sure to leave us a like down below. Also, if you have any questions or concerns or things that you want me to talk about in a future video, leave them down below in the comments. But as always, my name is Andy, and until next time, thank you for watching.